Warm greetings, everyone. On behalf of W4W Foundation, a think tank built as Citizens Collective, we welcome you to another session of Wednesdays for Water. The conversation today is part of the Riverscape series, and the session is titled Bihar's Changing Riverscape, Floods, Drought, and the Fate of Small Rivers. In addition to the Riverscape series, Wednesdays for Water also runs other series such as Pollution series, Biodiversity series, Water Anxiety series, and Education series. The objective of Wednesdays for Water is to engage in conversation with water experts, grassroots practitioners, policymakers, and youth to explore the complex intertwined issues associated with water and the possible solutions those people are seeking forth and working upon. Wednesdays for Water has been very successful for us. Actually, we are now today 202 sessions old. So we are very proud to carry this out for last 5 years. And we have expanded actually to other activities like Friday Water Arts, Water Club, Water Thesis Club, Water Reading Club, and Meet a Maestro and Water Talkies, besides completing our 100 sessions of Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water. These are all online sessions, but we equally complement with on-site water workshops, water walks and talks, seminars, special courses, and conference panels to continue the water conversation in various possible ways. At W4W, we have just one belief that water conversations are crucial and the way towards water conservation. Do visit our website, www.for.w.in. This is Mansee Bal Bhargava from the House of W4W, and I'm also the host of the session today, session on Bihar's changing riverscape, floods, droughts, and the fate of small rivers. And we have the honor to invite Dr. Dinesh Kumar Mishra, Eklavya Prasad as speakers, and Dr. Ruchi Shree as the discussant of the session. Before I invite all of them to speak, I would like to just first thank to all of you because this session has been decided almost 2 months ago, and I'm so happy to get hold of Dr. Dinesh Kumar Mishra and also welcome back Eklavya and Ruchi to the session. I will first invite Dr. Dinesh Kumar, but before he speaks, a brief overview of his extensive life in water and otherwise. Dr. Dinesh Kumar practiced as a structural engineer in his first innings of life, and since 1984, he has engaged in the study of floods, water logging, and irrigation. And these studies have special emphasis on the northern Gangetic plains of Bihar. He holds excellent contacts at the grassroots level in Bihar and other parts of flood-prone states of India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. He's written extensively on the flood issues of Bihar and participated in various debates over the subject. And just to give an example of his book on Pani Ka Shaap, Boya Ped, Babul Ka, I'm just giving some example. We have to keep it short. He was a member of several committees, to name a few: the Dams and Development Forum of UNEP, the Working Group on Flood Control and Water Logging of the Planning Commission of India, the Expert Advisory Committee of the Ministry of Water Resources. He was awarded Bhagirath Prayas Samman of 2016 by India Water Week. He was also the convener of informal group of flood activists called Baadh Mukti Abhiyan. Interestingly, he has helped produce documentary film on Bihar floods. I'm just giving again one example, Dui Patan Ke Beech Mein, Between the Devil and the Deep Waters by Arvind Sinha. And later on, he has helped to other documentaries as well. Thank you so much, Dinesh sir. I know you were quite reluctant to do this session for us, but honestly, we are truly privileged to have you here. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. I like captive audience, you know. So when I keep on talking and you just listen, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say here, but my understanding with Ruchi was that I'll be talking about my past and the way I grew and the problems that I faced, the people I met, and so on, so forth. Uh, I was not interested in any water or any river to start with. I'm a structural engineer and I used to make my living by designing buildings and other things. In 1984, there was a breach in the Kosi embankment in Saharsha. And one of my friends, Vikas Bhai was his name, is no more. He said, Mishra, why don't you go to Saharsha and do something there for the people? I said, look, that is not my job to work for the people. It's not my business. And I will not go to Bihar. Also, the place is very rough. So I refused to go there. So he said, "नहीं बहुत अच्छे लोग हैं. The people are very nice. You'll find them helping and all." I said, "I don't know anything about water, and floods and um, calamities and all. I've got no exposure." He says, "Just go once and then come back." I went there. I said, "Okay, I'll go once, but that is the final deal. I won't go again." And I came there back from Saharsha, seeing the breach that had taken place in a block called I miss its name. Anyway, the river was flowing outside after breaching the embankments. It was flowing in the countryside. Embankment was in between, and the main river was on the other side. And this embankment was getting stretched between the two arms of the river. And people were camping for about a distance of 54 kilometers. I repeat, 54 kilometers. All the people from the neighboring areas, they have come to take shelter on the embankment. And then they were living there. And just as I went there, my first experience was to look into their huts, temporary huts that they had built for themselves. And I used to look for the food, or the grains where they were kept and what the people eat. I used to ask them, where is food? Where is rice? Where is dal and all that? ये कहाँ है सब? वो कहते हैं, we don't have anything. Says, how do you survive? They say, ऊपर वाला है ना वही देता है, हमको हमारे पास कुछ नहीं है. I said, ऐसा कैसे है? How is that possible? And ऊपर वाला will come and give it to you. बोलते हैं, just wait for the evening and you will find people coming with food to us. But in the family, in the huts, we don't have. The other thing that I attracted to me was a three-storied bedroom, because whosoever who could bring all his cots and chowkis, that was kept one over the other, and 5, 6 people could easily sleep in them. For drinking water, the hand pumps were there on the slope of the embankment, and keeping the children away from those hand pumps, and hence the water that was flowing on the either side of the river was a real problem, because you can't hold all the children all the time and you need manpower to do that. But till then, when I was there was no such accident, and I never heard even after that. I came back, and the fellow who had sent me to Saharsha, he said, "Why don't we come to Calcutta and we'll talk to some funding agencies and do some relief work?" So I said, "Okay, let's go to Calcutta." We invited 9 different groups for the meeting. And the hint given was that this man is available from Saharsha, and he will tell you the situation about what is going on there, and if possible, of your intervention there. 9 groups were invited, and only one came. And the fellow who came, I knew him, I worked with him for some times in Malda district of West Bengal. So, and he was working in some organization there. So there was no meeting held because there was nobody to be addressed to. And I asked this man, nobody has come, and why did you come then? He said, "You are a friend of mine, and I know you are a good man. I have just come to tell you that don't ever go to Saharsha or Bihar." That was his instruction. He said, "It's only for your betterment. I have come, and I don't think anybody will go from here." So that is why nobody has reported him. The meeting was over. And then my friend Vikas Bhai, who used to live in Benares and was a mechanical engineer and a would-be pilot officer, which he refused to work because he had worked with JP in Bihar famine of 1966-67. So he was appointed as a pilot officer, and the employer said, "Will we complete the process and then we'll invite you to join." So what he will do for the remaining period, he said, "I'll let the Bihar is too much in use, and then let me go to Bihar and find out what was happening there." He stayed, and when he got the appointment letter, he said, "No, I don't want this job, and I'll better stay with these people here who are starving." So from there he started. And he prevailed on me after about 10 years, 20 years of his being in Bodh Gaya. Mishra, jao na yaar. People will die if they are not given help. And I was not very happy with that, you know. Then they approached my brother and family and all. 6 months for him. Nation has done a lot for him in making him an engineer. It should be repaid, you know, the loan that he has taken, I mean, the kindness that he has earned from the government. It's a time for him to repay. Uh, and he should go to Saharsha only for 6 months. Somehow I agreed and went there. And then what I saw, because first visit I saw only from the boat and some strolling on the embankment. But people were really starving, you know. That is, I used to look for their food, you know, where the food is, which they will be eating, and I couldn't find any. How they were surviving? Maybe fishes were there because water was everywhere, and there was a weed they called karmi. So they boil it, and the fish which they might collect. That was their food for about 6 months. Later, some voluntary organizations did come, but they didn't cover everybody. You know. So that is where I started from, and my friend Vikas, who took me there after 6 months, when I said, now my obligation to the nation is over, I must go and work on my job, you know, which I had been doing as sort of consultancy. So he said, okay, do that. But can you just write a report about what you have seen and what you have done and what ought to have been done? It will not take more than a month for you, even if you go around it from here and from up to Nepal and all that. I'll arrange for it and you please do that, and then you are free from it. No more asking you for going around any river or doing some field work for such people. And I did go there for about a month and wrote a report, which was he must have circulated widely. And then people started asking me, where is that man who wrote this report? Or where is that man who ran that relief program and all that? I told this man, तुमने फंसा दिया यार मुझको. And this is not my job to do a relief job and then write report and then defend it. Somehow it went on, and then he said, Mishra, एक बड़ी report तैयार कर दो यार. Give me what you have learned for 1 month. So there was a book report. That's how my first book came. It was written in Hindi originally, and then we translated it into English. Unfortunately, the day I brought it from the press, its final copy, Vikas, who brought me to Saharsha, he died in a road accident. So I didn't know what to do with those reports and a heap of books that I had had. So it was with me, and whosoever used to come to ask me for a report that was written by me and in Saharsha, I said, yeah, le jao. And somehow I got rid of it. But then people started contacting me, you know, those I had worked with in Saharsha. Mishra ji aaye for about a week, for about a month, spend some time with it, with us. And that is how I started working on it, you know. Then all that I could do is I was not interested in joining any organization. I was not interested in starting any organization of my own. I said I'll better do it from outside. And then whenever I got free time, I used to visit those places and try to document it. And in that process, I wrote many books, you know, many books, booklets, articles I started writing that were published in Himal of Nepal, uh, EPW that I remember, and then many magazines, And I didn't know I was digging my own problems for myself that people will keep on asking me. I mean, that is how I am here. But now I'm enjoying the job. My consultancy it was gone with the winds. I never pursue it. And I'm writing books on it, you know, on different aspects. I have covered many rivers. Some of them, about six of them, have been published. About two, three from North Bihar are still pending. And later I thought that with advancing age, I must write about the composite things, drought, famine, and floods. Then that question arises, where to start from? Where to start from means if you want to talk about floods or excess water, the first thing that came to my mind was looking at the tortoise. Tortoise can freely live in water and so also on the ground, whether it is sandy soil or whatever, and he sleeps very comfortably. So I said, if you have to talk about floods and its control or whatever, here is an example which can live in both places peacefully. So the emphasis when you're talking about flood should be on the tortoise. And when it comes to drought or famine, that was Mithila, where I was working from. Sita, Mata Janki, was born in Mithila in a famine condition. And the king Janak had to plow his fields to satisfy the gurus. And that is how Sita was born. So I said, when Sita is born, the story from for drought or famine should start from there. And that was my undoing, going those back to those areas and those times was something funny. But then I read another very interesting story. Lord Shankar, he once promised himself that he will not dance for 12 more years to come. And fair enough. He and Parvati were going together all around, and they found one farmer plowing his field in a famine condition. They called him. There is no water and there is the agriculture is not possible. Why are you plowing the fields now? It's useless. He said, no, I know this famine is going to last long, but I'm plowing it because if I don't plow, I will lose the habit of plowing. Because with a long gap of 5, 6, 10 years, if I have to plow the fields, I will not be able to do it. Parvati smiles at Shankar that you had taken a vow that you will not dance for 12 years. What will happen if you start dancing after 12 years? He said, Chalo yahan se. Let's go from here and I will dance. So those stories, they caught my mind. And then I started going through scriptures and whatever books I could lay my hands upon. But as I reached Islamic period, I mean, these details were available in Hindi and in Sanskrit, which was translation was available. Reaching Islamic period was a bit tough job for me because I know Urdu, I can write Urdu, read and everything, but not Persian. So I said, Baba, ab nahi hoga. So what all I have done is wasted my time. Well, let me stop. And then people like you used to come to, who used to listen to, वो काम कर रहे थे आप क्या हुआ उसका? I said, I have dropped it, no more interested. He says, no, you should be continuing. So I was forced to start it from the British period when everything is very well documented. Hats off to them. Everything is documented and it is available. So started from 1770 when the first book was written by one engineer who had talked about the Gangetic floods and all that. From there it starts. I miss his name. So started from there and then started reading and came up to independent India. So I had all those documents and then starting from independent India, where again things are available, but of course it's a price to locate those things. I started reading and then started writing also about these rivers because I knew scriptures, what they said. I knew the Islamic period because I had contacted many Islamic scholars also who could guide me on the issue. And the British documents were already there. And interestingly, the assembly debates of those times, which I had given starting from 1936, I started reading them, and that is how they have dealt. So then I'm writing and documenting these books. Lately, I thought, I mean, after completing the history from 47 to 76, I thought I don't know how many years I am going to survive. So let me do something which I wanted to. And then I started picking the years, which year is more important for me, and then I start writing about it. And that is what I am doing at the moment. I have completed the history from 47 to 76 regularly. The first book came in very shortly, last 2 months ago, 47 to 56, and three or four more will come this year. So that is what I'm doing. People keep coming to me asking for information what happened, but it makes a very interesting reading if you read the debates in Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha, because that is the place where everybody is free to talk and blame the establishment, and when its turn comes, do the same. It's a very interesting. So it opens a big issue before you. So that is what I am trying to do. That's all I can say at the moment. Any questions, specific questions? Well, yes, I can answer, but otherwise, that is what I am doing. I have written about 12 books totally, maybe another 6, 7 books will come before I call it a day. I don't think I'll be entering the 21st century. No.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dinesh, and thank you so much to share your, I will say, legacy of work which you have done, and such a nice way to look at a grounded scholar. I will say it's a completely grounded research which you have presented in your work in the past, also as we read you. I will now invite Eklavya, and then we'll invite Ruchi to take the questions and answers with you and Eklavya both, sir. But before I invite Eklavya, just let me quickly give an overview of your experience. Eklavya Prasad is an experienced social development professional with almost 3 decades of sustained engagement in water sanitation, climate adaptation, and community-led resilience across rural and urban South Asia. His work bridges grassroots practice, participatory resource governance, contextual technology, solutions, and policy influencing research, particularly in extreme weather environments like flood-prone North Bihar and water-stressed regions of Jharkhand and West Bengal. Eklavya is also the managing trustee of Make Pine Abhiyan, a public charitable trust he helped conceptualize and nurture from an informal network into a structured grassroots organization tackling critical water and sanitation challenges. He's been involved in steering grassroots implementation agencies and mentoring young professionals and future water leaders. Eklavya has been writing on drinking water and sanitation systems suitable for diverse flood typologies, water quality security in water stressed areas, small, unknown, and anonymous rivers of North Bihar, decentralized water management in urban areas, shallow aquifer management in urban areas, and flood related issues, etc., for journals, newspapers, environmental magazine, etc. He's absolutely a vivid speaker and also a vivid photographer, I must add to here. Thank you so much, Eklavya. I'm keeping it short so that you have enough time to present your work and your thoughts. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Can I share my screen?
Sure, please.
Just a second.
Take your time.
Is this screen visible?
Yes, visible. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. And at the outset, I would like to thank W4W Foundation and Mansee Bhargava for inviting Make Pine Abhiyan to share the experiences and insights about rivers and floods in North Bihar. This presentation is grounded not only in the river basin governance and disaster management perspectives, but also in extreme fieldwork across multiple districts in North Bihar over the years. The presentation particularly draws on a detailed household level flood loss assessment of the phase 2 floods of 2024, conducted by Make Pine Abhiyan and supported by the Tata Trusts. The assessment covered 2,290 households across 134 wards in 21 panchayats spanning 7 districts. This presentation focuses on the gap between ground level insights and how floods and small rivers are framed in the mainstream discourse. Many of you would agree that floods in North Bihar are not random events. They are natural part of how rivers behave in alluvial floodplains. They are built into the landscape and arise from the interactions of factors like rainfall, upstream discharge, river flows, sediment load, and infrastructure. Floods occur in patterns over time and are influenced by connections across rivers and regime. In this sense, they are outcomes of an interconnected and dynamic system. On the other hand, ground realities refer to how floods are actually experienced at the local level across villages and households. It captures lived experiences, local variations, and community knowledge, along with aspects often missed in formal data, such as informal coping practices and differing impacts and vulnerabilities. If you look at this map of Bihar and then focus on the North Bihar region, it makes it evident that we are dealing with a dense and interconnected river systems, where major rivers like Gandak, Budi Gandak, Bagmati, Kamla Balan, Kosi, and Mahananda are not isolated channels, but part of a larger linked basin. However, on the ground, this interconnected system is not experienced as one. Floods are felt as highly localized and varied events, differing from village to village. In one place, it may be prolonged waterlogging. In the other, sudden inundation, elsewhere erosion or drainage congestion. This creates a fundamental disconnect. While the river systems functions as a whole, our understanding and responses often operate in fragments. As a result, what is hydrologically interconnected is socially and administratively dealt with in isolation, making it difficult to fully respond to the complexities of floods in North Bihar. Since 2011, if I'm not wrong, Make Pine Abhiyan has been working on developing and redefining flood typologies in North Bihar. And the recent household flood loss assessment further expands this understanding, with typologies increasing from 8 to 12, capturing a wide range of flood conditions. A key insight, I would say, from this work is that floods need to be classified, not just described. The typology approach shows that floods differ in different causes, pathways, duration, and spatial spread, leading to very different patterns of impact and recovery. Communities clearly recognize these differences. They anticipate specific types of floods and respond in ways suited to each condition. However, such distinctions are often missing in formal systems, where floods are treated as a single uniform phenomenon. This actually creates a gap where a highly differentiated reality on the ground is met with a generalized response. Even though floods in North Bihar are diverse, multi-sourced, and deeply context-specific. When flood typologies are examined along river systems, it becomes evident that smaller and often seasonal rivers along the drainage channels play a critical role in shaping flood behavior. Many flood conditions, such as Localized inundation, rapid onset flooding, and prolonged inundations and waterlogging are closely linked to these systems, which influence how water accumulates, moves, or fails to drain. Make Pine Abhiyan's work reflects this across both its conceptual and empirical contribution. In two recent books, first, River Rejuvenation and River Rights, of which Ruchi is the editor of this book, uh, and the second, Shifting Lands and Flowing Waters, foreground the importance of small, dispersed, and transboundary river systems in shaping North Bihar's hydrology. Complementing this, the household level flood loss assessment report provides empirical evidence from the ground, reinforcing how these often overlooked systems influence flood behavior and impacts. Together, these highlights that while such river systems are integral to the region's hydrology, they remain underrepresented in mainstream river basin and flood discourse. Hence, these rivers and drainage networks remain inadequately captured in formal data sets and governance frameworks. As a result, there is a critical gap in both understanding and response. Drawing from the household flood loss assessment, losses were systematically captured across 20 categories and then consolidated into 6 broad themes, which has been depicted in the figure on your screen. Across the 2,290 households, the total estimated loss amounted to 126.3 crores. And mind you, this we are talking about one single flood of the phase 2 floods between the 27th of September till the 2nd of October. And it also highlighted that the floods had a cumulative and multi-dimensional nature of impacts at the household level. Importantly, the assessment shows that losses are not confined to visible or headline damages alone. While land and housing account for a significant share of the total losses, impacts extend to across a wide range of domains, including livelihood, which includes agriculture and livestock, household assets, and wash. This reveals that the flood simultaneously disrupts shelter, production systems, and basic living conditions. Many of these losses, such as damage to essential household items, food security disruptions, and erosion of productive land, are less visible in conventional assessments, but have prolonged effects on recovery. Crucially, the assessments highlights that these impacts are unevenly distributed across socioeconomic groups, shaping differentiated pathways of vulnerability and recovery, often with long-term consequences. Losses vary significantly across different flood typologies. And in 2024, while we were doing the assessment, we had come across 7 different typologies of floods. And this clearly shows that flood risk is not uniform. It is typology specific. Yet response often remains generalized, overlooking the distinct nature and impacts of different flood conditions. The challenge is not limited to focusing only on infrastructure. It lies equally in strengthening our own understanding of river systems, flood typologies, and lived realities at the household level. The assessment clearly shows that the floods are diverse in their pathways, impacts, and recovery patterns, and cannot be addressed through uniform approaches. Without bridging this gap between system-led understanding and ground-level variation, responses risk remaining only partially aligned to how floods actually occur and are expected, often overlooking the differentiated nature of risk, loss, vulnerability, and recovery across locations and communities. I would like to end with a question rather than a conclusion. If floods are a part of an interconnected river system, yet experienced in highly local and varied ways, if typologies clearly show that different floods behave differently and create distinct impacts, if losses themselves are typology specific and deeply multidimensional, and if communities already understand, anticipate, and respond to these differences, then why do our approaches continue to remain so generalized? And therefore, the question is that are we focusing more on over controlling rivers we only partly understand, while under investing in how floods truly impacts? This is the QR code of the report. If you all can scan it, you can have access to the report which I have mentioned in my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Eklavya, for this short presentation telling us the complex aspect of it. I know complexity cannot be presented in a simplified manner, but kudos to you to talk about the typologies of flood, which is undermined, I must say. And I think the multidimensionality which you showed. But I will just invite Ruchi quickly to take on the session for the further discussions. And this is also a moment I would like to encourage all the participants who would like to engage with the speakers and Ruchi would like to write their questions in the chat box or later raise their digital hand, and Ruchi will actually take you into account while she does the questions. But before that, welcome back, Ruchi, and thank you so much for agreeing to actually coordinate this session and make it happen. So that is the first thank I must give. Dr. Ruchi Shree is a political ethnographer working on politics of water. Her work addresses the interplay of perspectives on water, especially talking about commons, entitlements, and commodity, and its ramifications on social movements, policies, and everyday life in India. She did her PhD at the Center for Political Studies at Jawaharlal Nehru University, which we fondly call JNU. She is currently teaching at the PG Department of Political Sciences, Tilka Maji, Bhagalpur University, and prior to that, she taught also at Janki Devi Memorial College at University of Delhi. Along with teaching, she has been actively engaged in research and advocacy with several organizations, just to name a few: Environmental Law Research Society of Delhi, Hans Seidel Foundation in Germany, South Asia Network on Dams, Rivers and People, Senderp, and I must also thank Senderp at this moment to connect me to Ruchi, and I see to flow with her for a long, long time. Shruti regularly writes blogs, previews, and photo essays for Sander. As a research fellow at SOAS, also, she's working on fostering eco-centric community-led river restoration and conservation in the Ganga Basin project, supported by the British Academy Fellowship. She also coordinated a series of webinars on resource federalism in India. Very interesting to really look for it. Ruchi aims to understand the significance of small rivers and the role of community participation in river rejuvenation of Bihar as small tributaries of Ganga, and so on and so forth. And that is why she's also invited as a researcher and a discussant, because she has a lot of questions. And welcome, Ruchi. Thanks so much for organizing this session.
Thank you so much, Mansee. It's always nice to be together. And here today, I feel like having the three generations working on water, because Dinesh sir and then Eklavya, though I call both of them my friends, and it's been so humbling to have been working and learning from them. Uh, Dinesh ji, सबसे पहले I would like to ask a question to you, and it's in fact the same question has also been asked by Alok Gupta ji in the chat box. So let me first start with that. That despite available evidence suggesting dams and embankments are not a perfect solution for flood control in Bihar, why do policymakers continue to rely on it?
You hit the nail in the first question itself, Dinesh ji.
No, it's a question from one of the from audience as well, and I also had this question. There was an overlap.
No, actually, to counter floods, what should be done and who should be telling what should be done? That's the question. When the society has got to face it, they have got their own ways of dealing with it. I have talked to many people there in the flooded areas. They say the river water used to come and go. Now it only comes and does not go. So the engineers or whosoever is responsible for dealing with those unwanted water should be told this. They also say that earlier our mud houses used to collapse when the river enters the village, and it goes, and we used to rebuild our houses on the same debris. The river water also rises with time because of sedimentation and many other things, many other issues. The village house also used to rise, whether it was knowingly done or unknowingly, but it was done. The flood has got, as far as I know, only one word. When you ask any English knowing person, what do we call when the river water enters my village or my house? They say it is flood. We say no, it is not flood, not only flood. It is when the river water enters the village, comes near it, and touches the peg by which the cows and bulls are tied. We call it pani aa gaya, pani aa gaya. It is not a flood. Then, if it reaches our sill of the house, we call it bow. So they say this is not flood, but this is bow. The water has come up to that point. If it crosses the window level, it is called humma. If it reaches up to the roof, we call it sa. And if it crosses the roof, we call it pralay. We know how to deal with all the stages and where to take shelter from it and all that, we know it. So when the village comes, the water comes to the village up to sill level, we don't bother. Sill level of the houses. Only when it tries to enter the houses and goes up to window level, we call it humma. And that is the point when if it goes up to the window level, that is the time to release the cattle, your oxen and the cows, buffaloes, with folded hands. Ma, we cannot save you now anymore. So please go from here wherever you can, or wherever you find a shelter. This is not only flood. One word is not, it defines different stages of it. When you talk to the people, if tumhara ghar, your house, is washed away, he says, yes, it is washed away, but we repair it every year. There is absolutely no problem. Because we know the cobweb in the hut that is formed because of the oven in the house, within the house, of the smoke coming out of it, we never see it again. Once it is washed, the house has got to be rebuilt. And we do it with our local materials. We don't purchase bricks and we don't invite a ठेकेदार or an engineer to do it. We know what is to be done and what much time or life it is going to have. We know it. We know how to deal with it. The women in the family, if the rain is delayed, they go to the river and pray for it. कि माँ तुम्हारे आने का समय हो गया. It's time for you to come to our village. And they go with it on their thali, with flowers and akshat and all that, to go to the river. But when the water enters, goes up to humma level or those levels, to sill level, the women again pray, Ma, bahut ho gaya, aap jao. And if the mother doesn't go from there, they bring सिंदूर को क्या कहते हैं? Vermilion. Vermilion powder. All the rivers are, barring a few, rarely a few, they are all girl childs. And girl child is always chanchala. It keeps on jumping from one place to other, playing within the village, within the family, within the field, everywhere. It has got no control on its access to those places. That girl is threatened by these women that look, you behave yourself, otherwise we are going to get you married. And then they sprinkle vermilion powder as a last resort. कि तुम अगर ठीक से नहीं रहोगी तो तुम्हारी शादी कर देंगे. And they say नदी भाग जाती है. It doesn't stay, it just goes away. Yeah? So that's the change of attitude when you are looking at the river. The men defined it as humma, sa, and all those things. And the women has got a different angle over it. वो जाएंगी to start with, Ma, it is a long time that you have visited us. Please come. And if it doesn't go after doing its job, if you don't go, we will get you married, and here is vermilion powder. I have talked to people. They say कि भाई तुम्हारा घर चला जाता है हर बार. Why don't you do something? बोलती that's an opportunity for us, because we can have a new house. Because the building materials are here with us. We are not bothered. Oh, that is your problem, not ours. So,
sir,
sorry, how
no,
many
I was
engineers know of this, are aware of this concept? How many leaders are aware of this concept or the way of dealing with floods? The way people deal with it and the way administration deals with it. There is a lot of difference, and there is no dialogue between the two. Absolutely no dialogue between the two. Dialogue is initiated by the middleman, the people and the engineers and the contractors. Contractors are the middleman who know what is happening at ground and who know what should be done to benefit him and the establishment. Engineers don't come with out of the dome that has been constructed around them. The knowledge is fixed. What all we have been taught, we will be doing it. So how to initiate a dialogue between these three, and I found ये नहीं हो पाता. I am arrogant that I have got a degree in engineering and all, and I don't bother about it. तुम लोग बेवकूफ आदमी हो, तुम कुछ समझते नहीं हो. Here I know everything, and here is a man who will do everything for you. People are not involved. They have got no say. So how to make them active enough to counter these leaders and all that. तो बोल देते हैं कि तुमको कुछ नहीं आता है, दूर बैठो चुपचाप. And women I have seen in meetings, various meetings that we had conducted since 84 and all that. If there is a calamity, I know I go and talk to people, can I do something for you? So the meeting is held in the evening because during daytime, they are all making their living somehow. But evening time, they all sit together and think. And I am the boss there. because ये तो साहब आया है, ये कुछ करेगा. तो साहब क्या करेगा? Sahab is surrounded by all the big men in the village. They will feed me the information about their village. I have got no access to it. I'm always surrounded by the people. And beyond that, the last ring is of women. They don't participate. And if they do, somebody from within them shout, hey, bolo mat. Hum hai na, bol rahe hain na. Those poor ladies, they sit there, shout at the periphery, never heard. That's the given condition at the ground level. When I was active there, I had many of my friends who were working. I used to tell them, यार मुझे तो they are not going to tell me, or these fellows will not let me listen to what the facts are. So I'm stuck. You please go around the last ring. You should be there. So all those 5-7 people who used to work with me and all, they used to stand in the last ring. And then we used to have a meeting separately, lately, in our base area. क्या हुआ भाई? तो बोलते वो तो ऐसे बोलती थी, वो तो ऐसे बोलती थी, ऐसे बोलती थी, और ये तो कुछ एकदम उल्टा बोल रहा है। वो उनका दलाल है। वो उसको जानता है कि उसको कहाँ से पैसा मिलने वाला है, कहाँ से नौकरी मिलने वाली है, कहीं कहाँ से जॉब मिलने वाला है, कहाँ उसकी झुड़ी जाएगी, कहाँ उसकी मिट्टी फेंकी जाएगी। वो इज कंसर्न with a from the family point of view is not wrong, but at the same time, half of the population is stuck. It cannot convey with the people. So I was lucky that I had shed my engineering chola. So I could listen to them. But an engineer is not interested here. Who interested है उसी में local पर whatever information you get, and then you give it to the boss. And I find the contractor is most honest of them. He knows he has come there to बाल बच्चों के लिए चार पैसा कमाने के लिए आया। वो आपको बाढ़ से बचाने के लिए नहीं आया है, वो आपको कुछ काम करने के लिए नहीं, बाल बच्चों के लिए चार पैसा कमाने के लिए आया। एंड इंजीनियर साहब, पीपल लाइक अस, दे आर बॉसेस, they cannot sit on the ground together with the masses. So there is no dialogue. I sit on the kursi, on the chair, and they will sit on the ground. So the actual dialogue is not there. And then comes the last is the politician. Politician knows how to handle people and how to handle contractors and how to handle everybody. So that's why I said very interesting Vidhan Sabha or Lok Sabha reports, where the members of the legislatures or the parliament are free to say, free to express their views, free to. And I have seen many accidents that have happened in past being discussed in Vidhan Sabha or in Lok Sabha. The real debate goes there, but the action is set by engineers. See, we are having I'll call it a carrot dangled before the people that will build Barak Kshetra Dam in Nepal so that the Kosi will be tamed. Do you know the first proposal? It was done in 1937 that we are going to perform all the surveys and all, and the soil details, and we'll start working on it. That was in 1937. The debate. There is a report of 1937 available with me also. So that has not come into any shape till now. It is 89 years, 37, 63 there and 26 years. 89 years, we are only debating, we are only saying. Establishment says, Barak Kshetra mein बांध बना देंगे and the problem will be solved. 89 years, is it not enough time to say yes or no? But then if that is the solution, why not we do it? No, but it is not done. And people are
So,
always, sorry,
okay. No, just the point where you ended, sir, about the Indo-Nepal, because I think from where Eklavya, like that's one of the dimensions that his work has also been touching upon, about the issue of numerous small rivers which are coming from Nepal and India and Nepal both. So my this question was to Eklavya, that do you think that even Indo-Nepal relation is one of the factors? Because for example, even I used to hear it often that whenever the floods are there in Bihar, then it's one of the reasons is that Nepal पानी छोड़ देता है। तो दिनेश जी से बात करते हुए और एकलव्य आपसे सुन के फिर वो मेरा एक मिसनोमर जो है वो खत्म हुआ कि that's just one of the factors, but there are numerous other factors also. And since now I have been closely observing the small rivers, that numerous small rivers in Bihar, they need rejuvenation. So how this thing is happening that, uh, I call it paradox of abundance and scarcity. That there is flood in certain months and there are certain months when there is very less water. So I think Bihar faces this in a way dual challenge of this paradox, what I'll say. Also, the level of groundwater has gone down drastically. So probably these three things need to be looked at together. And that's how I have been trying to understand the politics of water in Bihar. So, Eklavya, I would like to know that is there any way that we can, utilize the water that we get in floods? Do you think we can create some kind of storage mechanism or something of that kind? Because what I read a few months back, that government of Bihar is planning to do something of that kind near Munger and other places, that if we could store such water. So I would like to hear from you as well.
Quite a complicated questions with where you have put in a lot of
Sorry,
factors.
sorry about that, but then
So,
that's how
so,
I just framed it, just too many things.
so let
Just see
me
if you could.
yeah. So let me try to answer it in pockets. Okay.
Yeah, please.
First of all, what is happening with regard to groundwater, especially in North Bihar, which at one point of time was considered to be an area with abundance, as you rightly said, with regard to groundwater. Now, there are cases of 2025, 2024, 2023 in urban centers, like for instance in Darbhanga, in Madhubani, where seasonal variations are far more stark than what it used to be. Earlier, also, we used to have seasonal variations in terms of groundwater levels, but now it is extremely stark. And to an extent that people are unable to access the water depth, which has gone down during the summer season. So the issues with regard to urban centers is very different, because there are various reasons why the water levels are going down, or we are having a new norm of groundwater decline, largely because of the fact that there is huge abstraction, and also the fact that there is hardly any effort being made to revive the shallow aquifers, which normally people tend to depend on. So that's one. Now let me get to the other parts of your question. The second is in terms of small rivers. Look, for me, recognition and acknowledgement of small rivers is the way to begin. I remember it was in 2019, 2020 when Make by Abhiyan took upon itself to start counting the number of rivers across the 7 districts adjoining to the Nepal border. It was a very basic kind of an attempt, but we wanted to begin with, at least for our own understanding. And this was actually triggered because of the floods that came in 2017, where most of these small rivers were in spate because of the cloudburst and torrential rains along the Tarai region. And that was the time for I mean, since the time I've been working, that was the time when the Honorable Chief Minister came up front and said these are flash floods. So the term flash floods popped in the discourse. It was in 2017. Prior to that, I was not aware of that it's being discussed in the uh, corridors of power. Now, at the moment, the status seems to be the same. There's nothing much has happened with regard to the acknowledgement of these small rivers. Now, if we even have to think about the riverine communities, it has to be thought from the perspective of it being hyper local. I don't see any point of an intervention down, say, about 100 and 150 kilometers southeast of the location where the people are, to think about what needs to be done so that, water could be stored and then carried back. So for me, first of all, point number one, acknowledgement of the existence of these rivers. Second, in terms of seeing as to what is the scenario of the riverine communities with regard to these rivers, whether, and that too in fluctuating flow regime. The chapter in the book, one of the second book that we have written, I mean, sorry, in Gehua, which is in the book which you have edited, this is what we have been saying, that the Gehua River goes through a very different kind of profile during pre-floods, during floods, and post-floods. And there are communities from Madhubani Darbhanga and Saharsa districts, which actually depend on this river for a lot many things. So so it is important to first understand rather than coming out with something which is at a macro level, there are thoughts that needs to go in. And precisely the reason why these thoughts have got reflected very clearly in the household level flood loss assessment that we have done. That enough of looking at floods from macro perspective with regard to response and strategies. It's time that we go into the detail into the nuances and to understand how things have changed over the years and how people are getting impacted, how households are getting impacted across the socioeconomic uh, groups. I hope I have been able to respond to the questions. If I missed out on something, you can.
No, no. You have covered just since I had just jumbled two, three different issues. I'm glad that you touched upon those. So Mansi, in case you have any question, because it's already almost 6:05 now, so
Yeah. Thank you
you would
so
like.
much, Ruchi. I am always sitting with lot of questions because I'm the most honest student in last 400 plus sessions, to be honest. I will actually start with just getting my basic learning today. And I would like to quote, because Eklavya and me were talking before the session, that this year's World Water Week very interestingly talks about water and gender and naturally flows into the discussion of women. And the campaign is called Where Water Flows, Equity Grows. So I would take from Dr. Dinesh when he said that the woman made the outer ring of these meetings. And then I link it with what Eklavya has very well presented in his talk, and he now told us the very interesting word hyper local initiatives have to be looked at, and also linking it with the smallest streams we talk about. So I'm carrying these two major information and really seeing the role of women, the role of small water bodies have been completely undermined, and the whole underscoring of large infrastructure project because it is a centralized idea coming from Delhi or coming from some big politicians has the disjointed, which also Dr. Dinesh highlighted as where is the dialogue between the levels. So I would actually like to start with a question with Eklavya when you talk about the typologies of flood and the very fact that Dr. Dinesh already said that there was a local vocabulary of actually it is not a flood at all from coming from the knee level, ankle level, knee level to sill level to roof level. How are we right now doing a flood, actually flood documents or flood relief? Because personally to me what is more bothering is flood is a disaster, drought is not a disaster. Drought comes under scarcity, so these are completely two, and flood is comes under the national DIM, or I will say disaster management. Drought does not. How are we really dealing with already not looking at the grains of flood and then also dividing flood and drought, because we also know Bihar is drought prone region also. Where do we stand today in terms of having this discussion how to actually decentralize? I usually use the word going back to Jal Swaraj. So your hyper local to me is Jal Swaraj, which was there in the past. Do we still get those discussions in the parliaments? As Dr. Dinesh said, actually I'm putting Dr. Dinesh's question also to you to link both of your talks talkings. What will it take us to really get more decentralized approach? Is it the local elections or something more powerful by scientists or activists or NGOs or who are really doing ground reporting? How can we change the policy narrative, Eklavya? Because you have been actually very good connect between the central and the local.
A couple of things with regard to Bihar. You see, earlier when I started working, there was a
Mm,
distinct differentiation that North Bihar was flood prone and South Bihar was drought prone. Okay,
mm,
and which was in 2005. In 2 decades, now we have come into a scenario which is quite a jumbled scenario. North Bihar also has drought, and
yes,
South Bihar also has floods.
has
If
flood.
you, if, if you refer to the Form 9 of Government of Bihar, from 2015 to 2024 in South Bihar, barring 2023, there have been floods in all these years in South Bihar. Likewise, if you go ahead and look at the hydrological drought that Bihar faces, you'll have areas. In fact, in 2024, the block Runi and Belsand, which we had studied under the flood household level flood loss assessment, and in 2025, when we connected with these people to understand what the situation is, they said that we are trying to fight a drought-like situation.
Wow.
So things are not as distinct as it used to be.
Hmm.
That's one. And therefore, the reason to go hyper local in order to understand. Let me give you an
Yes.
example in a very short, uh, in short. We were, as part of the assessment, we were also doing the participatory flood mapping in 10 panchayats out of the 21, wherever we were holding the focus group discussion. And in that, we were trying to figure out from the people as to how did the floods actually enter the panchayat, and what were the ways in which they could understand the impacts. Now, believe you me, the kind of inputs that came from people, the kind of details that came as far as coping strategy, the kind of to cope with the ongoing flood at that point of time,
Hmm.
and the understanding in terms of what can be done for future for their own survival was far more sophisticated, was far more nuanced, and was far more powerful than what people like us sitting outside try to think in terms of these are the ways in which work needs to be done. So first of all, to your question as to what is it that needs to be done in order to ensure that these people are heard, or the problems that are there are actually acknowledged. The first thing is a tireless effort of bringing in figures. And this was precisely the reason why we got into a household level flood loss assessment, because one was kind of tired of looking at these aggregated numbers,
Hmm.
which runs in crores and in millions and doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, prior to starting with the assessment, we went through the government documents to figure out as to what is the exact impact on the household, and there was nothing that was giving us that idea. And therefore, the reason why we went into it. So, right now, because of the study, there is a counter which we are kind of building, which also helps in developing a strategy in terms of what can be done in terms of preparedness, in terms of rescue, in terms of response and resilience, whether be it a responsibility of the government, whether be it a responsibility of the CSOs, and also there are opportunities for entrepreneurs to come in and to contribute in building Bihar's future as resilient than what it is today. So I think, as I had mentioned it to Ruchi, we need to start from the basic where we start collecting data which supports the whole argument that it is important that we need to look into the local, hyper local, from a hyper local lens, because that is where the impact is happening. And that
More
is that,
research. Yeah.
and yes, of course, and that is that is how the build up would be for the future.
Yeah. So just to just extend the question here, because I really got intrigued by your pie chart of looking at the, I will say, the canvas of flood, and the fact that we have a blanket definition of flood right now in the national disaster also, and also flood as such. I mean, if we have to look at the multidimensionality of the flood, and also I'm looking at it from the disaster relief perspective, not only preventive but relief perspective, uh, uh, how do you see that even the NIDM should look at flood very differently than today? Because should flood and drought not be seen as one a cycle of events which people go through, and then what is it required? I'm asking this question with a very simple thing. When people considered flood in the past as okay, from praying for it to not flood but for praying for water to arrive, and praying the water to go out. And then of course then the season or dry season. uh, do you see that there is a more sense to, even if it is a complex way of looking at it, that the flood and drought now in Bihar should be looked more interlinked than actually two different events? What's your general take on it, and especially looking at the multidimensionality? Because eventually drought also has some kind of picture like what you showed for the flood.
Uh, I would begin from the fact that if we are trying to address two different aspects of disaster, uh,
Yes.
then they need to be looked separately to begin with,
Okay.
because
Okay.
that is what it is important to build that body of knowledge.
Yes.
Now, going back to what Guruji mentioned, that the coming of water, then the nuanced uh, details of the names, etc., which also shows that not always floods was a disaster.
Hmm.
And we need to keep reiterating this fact. Floods is not a disaster till the time we started playing around with the river systems. And in my presentation, I did talk about the whole idea or the
Yes.
whole factors that kind of influence floods. Now, so therefore, I would suggest that it is better that we bring in floods separately and disaster and drought
Okay.
separately. But if there are drought-like scenario in the flood-prone areas, then it is important that we mix two to understand why these shifts are happening. So again, it comes down to the fact that I cannot say that it needs to be done at a macro level. We need to begin again
Yes.
the fact that though it might sound very utopian for many people to say that how can we go down and be hyper local all the time, the need of the hour is basically to be hyperlocal.
Absolutely. And I think it has not changed from Gandhi's time talking about Gram Swaraj. And I see very much as Jal Swaraj is the only way. And but it also requires education at the grassroots last mile.
I I would I would rather say that uh, before even achieving this stage of Jal Swaraj, it is important for us to first build that body of knowledge. Right now, what is
Yes.
happening is the whole approach of being uniform, singular in our strategy. We are bulldozing the fact that there are pockets in North Bihar which are very different than South Bihar, and within North Bihar there are different pockets which we need to understand for any intervention to be planned.
Yeah.
So if you
That's
if you do
interesting. Mm.
so if you do not keep the context in mind, then anything that goes in will be a disaster after a period of time.
Yeah, actually, that brings me to a question, and that will be probably last question from me also. But there is a question from Anand Kumar, so I will hold my question because we would like to give preference. Dr. Sorry, Dr. Mish. It is for Dr. Mishra. Sorry, Anand Kumar. Would you like to unmute yourself, or should I read the question for you? Okay, it is for Dr. Dinesh. You. There are at least 10 rivers. Okay, Dr. Anand Kumar ji, बोलिए. Sorry, we appreciate actually participants speaking. Then we
जी,
बोलिए.
thank you. There are at least 10 rivers between Kosi and Mechi that are planned to be interlinked, and canal is going to cross over them. If siphon or some things are to be used, someone is going to pay for it because these siphons and all these equipments, they won't work on itself. You need electricity or something to operate them. So someone is going to be paying for them. So if no one pays, they would stop, and ultimately the flow of rivers would stop, flow of this canal would stop. Plus, the question is that of the silt. Kosi carries too much silt, and most probably it will fill up. The canal would fill up. So I would like to know from Dr. Dinesh Mishra, how feasible would you think, sir? Is this idea feasible, especially when this canal is running from west to east, when all the rivers in this region are flowing from north to south? Thank you.
Dr. Dinesh. And if you can be please very precise so that we can close now in few minutes. Yeah.
No, I mean, to me, it's only a promise made to the people, you know. The canal is already there. The Eastern Kosi Canal is already there. And as Anand told me, it is from west to east. And it was filled with sand about 10 years ago and had become virtually defunct. And the government was forced to take up an excavating program for that canal and dump the sand that came out on the sides of those canals. Fortunately for the government, they had some space which belonged to them. Now, what happens to this canal that runs from west to east? And remember, the ground slope is from north to south, from Nepal to India. So, this canal that was constructed earlier is, is an obstruction to the free flow of water that comes from north. And to drain that water out, they had constructed some spillways and all, you know, I mean, underground channels. Those are silted, many of them. Now, what happens almost every year is water from north. It comes, gets stuck at that canal, and sometimes it breaches the canal, and the water goes to south. When it breaches, the water that goes to the downstream on the right hand side, those people, let's say Dharm Kshetre, Kurukshetre, people from on the left bank of the canal and right bank of the canal, they collect almost every year. The northern one for cutting the canal and the southern ones for saving the canal. And the fight continues between them. Now, when this new project of canals are proposed, that is proposed, that will go to the extension of it. You know, it's only extension plus diversion of channels taken out from that canal. How on earth we are going to save this structure of the canal itself, bigger canal itself? More so when it is difficult to drain the water and sand out of it towards its southern end. Hmm? And then where do you dump the dug out soil after say about 20 years when the government has got no land of its own? All these points, I mean, need to be discussed with the establishment, you know, and the people should be made aware of it. That good, I mean, they are going to link the canal, fair enough, that is what they can do. But then what happens in future, that has got to be sorted out now, because we have already excavated the canal, you know, once after 30 years of its construction. Another 30 years, it will be the same thing. And what you will be doing? Where is the land available for it? Just passing the buck, you know, and saving time, your own time, you know, get out of it. So the people are happy. That's all.
Well, Dr. Dinesh has actually raised many, many ethical questions today. And instead of asking him, actually, I'm actually putting my question to Ruchi. I know you are unprepared for it, but very simple question, because this whole masculine large infrastructure projects have actually lost the essence in terms of enriched small rivers and the role of women in the water sector. So my question to you, very simple, Ruchi. How do we get those women sitting on the outer ring that Dr. Dinesh mentioned to the inner ring of discourse on water? Because when women comes, they actually bring out this whole idea of hyper-local, Jal Swaraj, decentralized. We can name these in different forms. And probably that discourse will start because women actually starts thinking from home to neighborhood to family. What's your take? What is your simple, spontaneous take on how to bring all of us, you, me, into that inner circle of water discourse and policy making?
So
Yes, it's
I would
done.
I would quickly say just two things.
Yeah.
One, that even I started facing floods when I came to Bhagalpur. So for last in the last 6 years, I have seen 4 floods, and I face flood every year. So here I saw women rowing the boat, And that was something unbelievable for me, because usually we do not think that कि women भी जो हैं वो now. तो ये मेरे लिए it was like an eye opener kind of a thing. And secondly, the other day I was discussing with Eklavya that when the flood is there in the colony, we have two yug. We call it Thela yug and Now yug. So there is so less water that you have to move in the Thelas. And then when the water increases, then you have to use boat. So in the colony with the boat moving around, and I remember when for the first time I had shared the pictures on Facebook, then many people had said, "Oh, you enjoy Venice in Bhagalpur." So I still remember that Venice in Bhagalpur, I don't know. But Dinesh ji had asked me that you make a Vanar Sena of your own. So I have my students. I have been trying to document whatever I'm able to. So whatever little things that women can do is that you start from local. So I would like to admit it here that I have recently made a flood committee report, and I'm trying to fight on behalf of the university that we need to save the university from flood at least. I never thought that I will be doing anything of that kind, but when I heard Dinesh ji's story, how he went to Saharsa and then that flood relief, and I feel that maybe even I came to Bhagalpur, I started looking at Champanala, and then that turned into a book. So I think whatever little we can do, whatever comes to your way, documentation is very important. Women can do that, and then whatever you face, you must try to make a group of your own. It can be more women, it can be more
Absolutely.
students, and that's the strength of women. And I feel happy that I am with you, Mansi, and will have many more new things to learn. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dinesh Mishra, Eklavya Prasad, and Dr. Ruchi for this wonderful session. I know these conversations can go on, and we took the liberty to have a longer conversation today. Thanks to all the participants for their patiently listening, and I see some of them also in the YouTube for being here and also encouraging W4W to continue these conversations. We feel very privileged and supported by all our speakers, more than 600 of them who have come on board, because I think these conversations are extremely important. Do look at us, our 400 plus sessions, and you will see actually the knowledge bank of water is lying there at W4W with all the speakers' profiles and information with us if we only share with them or with people who ask for it. But otherwise, you see a compilation of our work here. Next week, we are taking a short Easter break, and we come back with a session on April 13 on Friday, water thesis session, when we talk about evaluating risks to water quality from everyday chemicals. We have Meghna Kappa, a PhD scholar, and this is also at 5 p.m. IST. All our sessions are run at 5 p.m. IST. Thanks again, all of you, and please stay healthy, happy, and wet, of course. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Thank
Eklavya.
you.